The college football experience Dantabase top 25 ranking show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Use the promo code NFCBeast for 15% off, active until the Eagles or Giants lose their next game. And we got those campus edition t-shirts looking like this. This is for College Station. So check out those if you're watching on YouTube, and let it ride.
Hey, this is Bill Romanowski. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo-wee. Welcome to the college football experience. Oh, man. I just realized our backdrop's off. If you're wondering who the hell you're rocking with, my name is Kobe Swinging Dantabase Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
Oh, man. I got to apologize. If you're watching on YouTube, you were seeing, seeing the SGPN graphic up there. I didn't even get the graphic over there yet. My apologies. Sometimes you're just laser focused on the Dantabase top 25, but I got it for you right here. Subscribe to the College Football Experience on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. And let's rock. Let's rock. As if you're a first time listener to this show, what we try to do is basically take out the bullshit of college football, which there's a lot of, and key in on what we think would be an accurate ranking show based on resume only, not yesteryear or wherever. So I think you'll dig this show. So and we think it's fair. Shout out to GBO Farms in the chat. He's already saying fuck Georgia, and as a Tennessee fan should say. As a Tennessee fan should say. But yeah, let's hop into this because I really am excited to reveal the Dantabase top 25 to you on the way that I see it, as the way it should be. At number 25, I got the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Yes, shout out to Big Bird and them. They didn't do anything to really deserve this, right? Like, the best part about this show is you're looking at a resume. My point is that, okay, over the past week or two, they haven't done that, but the resume has gotten better. So that is why I have them. They're 6-1. Their resume got better because the Buffalo Bulls all of a sudden look like a really good team in the MAC. So Buffalo beats Toledo. They've been winning a bunch of games in a row. Another thing is Georgia Southern is looking better and better in the Sun Belt, and they have a win against Georgia Southern. So those two wins doing some value. Also, Army finally won this past week. They did beat Army. So I have the Chanticleers at number 25 in all the land. No, Texas is not a top 25 team, in my opinion. They did not make the cut. All right. They have 2 road games. They have 2 losses, and they lost a game at home. They don't even have that good a win. So let's go. Next up. But Coastal Carolina is 6-1. You know what I mean? And I know people could say, well, Maryland at 5-2. It's not like Maryland's resume is fire. You could argue that the best win Coastal Carolina has is better than Maryland's best win. What is Maryland's best win? They have what? Northwestern, Michigan State. Buffalo. It might be Buffalo, who both these teams have beat, or it might be SMU. No, they have a losing record. I think I actually do think they have a better resume, and they only have one loss. So I think Coastal Carolina's got a better resume. They deserve to be ahead of the Maryland Terrapins, if you ask me. At number 24, we are going to stay in the Sun Belt Fun Belt action because I have the Troy Trojans. Yes. Okay, so they're breaking in a new coach this year. Week 1, they do lose by 18 at Ole Miss, and then they had the Hail Mary game they lost to App State week 3, right? But when you look at the wins over Marshall, Western Kentucky, Southern Miss, and then South Alabama, that is 4 winning teams right there. And that is why I think even though they have 2 losses, they should be ahead of Coastal Carolina right now because the resume is that much better. So I do have, the Trojans ahead of Coastal Carolina despite having 1 more loss. And I mean, come on, look at that road schedule right there. In Oxford, Boone, North Carolina, Bowling Green, Kentucky against a good Western Kentucky team, and then at South Alabama. Compare that to Coastal. It ain't the same. It is not the same. So I got the Trojans at number 24. At number 23, I will take you to the SEC where the Kentucky Wildcats are coming up for me. Obviously some of their wins looked worse this past week, but the South Carolina win, they lost to South Carolina. South Carolina came into Lexington. There was no Will Levis. So you got to have okay. But South Carolina, that win looks better now. So that loss looks better for Kentucky. However, their win against Mississippi State does not look amazing as Mississippi State loses at Bama. Another thing is their MAC schools, Northern Illinois and Miami, Ohio, continue to lose. So I do think that resume is not very fun. Another thing is their loss at Ole Miss looks worse because Ole Miss got housed by LSU. So the resume looks a lot worse for the Kentucky Wildcats for the most part, as they have a huge game in Rocky Top. Shout out to the chat moving along. OG Man, GBO Farms, Kristen Hamilton, 3802. Shout out to all you. But yeah, so I have the Kentucky Wildcats coming in at number 23, and I think you can honestly, you can make a case. You can make a case that Troy's resume is better than Kentucky's. I really believe that. Because when you consider Kentucky's win at Florida, how good is Florida? They still have a winning record, but barely. And after this week, I don't think that will be a winning record. But right now, I got to put Kentucky at number 23. At number 22, I am taking you to Corvallis. Yes, we're the Beavers of Oregon State. Shout out to them as they just rolled Colorado this past week. But and they did it with a backup quarterback. Their starting quarterback's been knocked out the past couple games, concussion, I believe. But he's not amazing anyway. But either way, Oregon State's resume does the Boise State win, the Fresno State wins look a lot better. The Montana State win looks better as Montana State, beats Weber State and is in the top 3 now in the FCS. The USC loss, okay, USC didn't play this weekend, so it didn't get worse. The Utah loss last week got better. This week they didn't play, so they stayed the same there. Their win at Stanford got better as Stanford won, against Arizona State on the farm, and Washington State didn't play. So the resume did get better for the Beavers, and that's why you see them getting back into getting into the top 25. So I have Oregon State at number 22. At number 21, I have the LSU Tigers. What a impressive win against Ole Miss. And when you look at LSU's resume, yes, I mean there are some question marks, like a game against Southern. That's a team that is not necessarily. I mean, I guess what you could say they're 5-2 in the FCS. They're not terrible, but it's certainly not comparing it to Montana State, who was Oregon State's FCS play. It's a bit different. However, But LSU has wins against what? Mississippi State, the win at Florida, which is a tough place to play, the win at Auburn, and then the loss to Tennessee doesn't look bad, obviously, from the week. I know Tennessee played UT Martin, so it doesn't really improve it that much. But and the loss to Florida State, if you look at that game, it wasn't in Baton Rouge. It was in New Orleans. It was a blocked extra point. Who knows how that shakes out? So I think their resume, Brian Kelly, defying the odds, all right? It looked like for a minute there, I'd say after like week 2 or 3, you were thinking, I don't know, man. I mean, I have a ticket over, I think it was 6.5 or 7. I think it might have been 7 wins for the season that I placed a large wager on. And I've been able to, really, they should have lost the Auburn game. You can argue the Mississippi State game for 3 quarters. State was looking like the better team, but hey, it is what it is. I got the Tigers at number 21. At number 20, I got the Utah Utes. They had the bye week too. And when you look at Utah's loss, first off, they play this Thursday. Awesome game in Pullman. Shout out to 3 Thursday night games this week. Unfortunately, though, still no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Come on, get some games going here. But you look at this one at Martin Stadium on Thursday. But Utah's resume, the Florida loss does look a little bit bad, because especially after this week when Florida's only going to be 4-4 unless they upset Georgia. It is a loss against a winning team, though, on the road, cross country, and their other 2 road losses. Their other 2 road games are at Arizona State, a team with a losing record. They got the win, and at UCLA, where they lost. So 1-2 on the road, 0 wins against a team with a win on the road, or a winning record on the road. But when you look at the home wins, USC, Oregon State, even San Diego State, those are 3 teams with a winning record. The Utes are my number 20 team in all of college football. And it's tough. I think if you compare Utah and LSU's resumes, it is tough, because you could say, well, I guess the thing is, what do we think Ole Miss is going to be? Ole Miss is obviously going to probably, I don't know. I think Ole Miss and Florida, interesting like trajectory of where they could end up. Ole Miss's schedule is really tough. I'm going to the Ole Miss A&M game this weekend in College Station, and I think the Aggies are probably going to win that game. Should be a game, though. I can't say that definitively because how bad that offense has been this year, but it'll be interesting to see. But I do think if you compare the resumes, the fact that Utah's 2 losses came on the road, LSU's losses, one came at home to Tennessee in blowout style, and then the other one in the state of Louisiana. I think it's a little worse. Utah's at the Swamp. They were about to score, then the other one at UCLA in a game that wasn't nearly as bad as the Tennessee LSU game. So I'm going to go ahead and say Utah's resume is better. The fact that their losses were on the road, LSU's were in the state of Louisiana. Number 19, I got the Kansas State Wildcats. Oh, tough break for them. I really thought they were the better team for 3 quarters, and I thought they were going to beat TCU had Will Howard not go. Well, we know Adrian Martinez went down in like the first 3 plays of the game, I feel like. Then Will Howard went down, and then, the Horned Frogs stormed their comeback. Kudos to them, but at the same time, I think Kansas State's a pretty good team. And I think when you look at their losses, undefeated, talk about a good resume for on the losses. What? Undefeated TCU 7-0, Tulane 6-1. So combined 13-1 record to your 2 teams you lost to. And then when you look at the wins, I think they still have enough meat on the bone to give them the number 19 spot. I know if you compare, you could say Utah's win against USC is better than anything on Kansas State's resume, which is true. But I would also argue that the teams Kansas State have lost to have been more impressive than the losses that Utah has had. Yeah, that's right. So at number 19, I have the Kansas State Wildcats. At number 18, I got the Ole Miss Rebels. Look, I'm only looking at resume because I don't think this team's that great. I don't think this team's that great, but I have to put them besides Coastal They do only have Ole Miss only has one loss, and they have 3 road games. Even though it was Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech, a Power 5 road win is a Power 5 road win. You gotta reward that something. Also, that win against Troy week 1. I know Troy was on a new coach, new quarterback, all this stuff, but I just think that win means enough for them to be number 18. And the win against Kentucky looks all right, even though I know that game was bananas. But at number 18, I got the Ole Miss Rebels. At number 17, I got the Cincinnati Bearcats. And I hesitated on this one. I went back and forth on Ole Miss and Cincinnati. What's the resume here? Man, I actually think Ole Miss's resume on their wins are a little bit better than Cincinnati's. However, Cincinnati's loss is a lot better than Ole Miss's loss from a score point of view. So I went Cincinnati at 17. I think it's razor close. If you were to argue that, I could even see myself saying, yeah, I get it. At number 16, I'm going to take you to Westwood or Pasadena, wherever they play their fucking games now. Westwood's where the campus is. They play their games in Pasadena. I'm going to take you to the Rose Bowl, though, and talk a little UCLA. They're 6-1. I was all over Oregon beating them. However, I did place a wager on the Bruins +7, and I ate shit with that. But you look at that resume. The Washington win got better this past week. Utah didn't play. Obviously, UCLA's resume got worse because they lost to Oregon. But the Washington win looks a little bit better. The South Alabama win took a hit, though. And the Bowling Green win looks a little bit better. Altogether, their road schedule is pretty dog shit this far. And I think you have to put them ahead of Cincinnati and Ole Miss, though, because they've played better teams. If you look at that resume, they've played better teams than those 2 teams. So I will put UCLA at number 16. Before I get to number 15, I want to tell you guys that the College Football Experience Dantabase Top 25 Ranking Show is brought to you by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by YouTube. Yes, Sports Gambling Podcast is giving you a chance to win your choice of either an autographed Lawrence Taylor jersey or an autographed Brian Dawkins jersey. The contest is completely free to enter. Just subscribe to youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. Comment on a video. Each video is a new chance to enter. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss SGP contacting you when they pull the winner. So do that. And also, let it ride. Come on, let's go. That's a great contest. Free. You can get an LT jersey or a Brian Dawkins jersey. Hell yeah. Doesn't say, and you could probably demand if you're strictly a college guy, say, give me that LT North Carolina jersey. Give me that Brian Dawkins Clemson jersey, huh? All right, number 15 in all the land in the Dantabase Top 25 Ranking Show is the Syracuse Orangemen. They look good in that loss. But they took their first L of the season. They've only hit the road twice this season. They're 1-1 on the road. Their other wins against UConn. To compare that to UCLA's schedule, so you have UConn against. So obviously, UCLA loses to Oregon, and they lost by. They actually, I feel like, got beat more by Oregon than Syracuse did by Clemson. So slight edge to the Qs there. And then when you compare the other away game, UCLA won at Colorado, Syracuse won at UConn. I kind of value the Colorado win a little bit more, so it kind of is a wash as far as the road trips they've been on. At home, though, UCLA's best win is Washington or South Alabama? No, it's actually Washington or Utah. Now that South Alabama dropped another game. So that's 3 decent opponents, but at the same time, you have Louisville, Purdue, NC State, 3 teams with a winning record. It's close, but I think the performance against Clemson gives the Qs slight edge over UCLA. At number 14, you want to talk about a team that when I saw the AP's top 25, You want to talk about how flawed the system is. If you're not a name brand, or they'll dock you if you're a FCS or a new jumping up from the FCS recently, or if you're an independent. In my opinion, how are the Liberty Flames not ranked? And that's my number 14 team. Liberty is good. Liberty is good, and it's a damn shame because this team could be undefeated. They had the cojones to go for 2 at Wake Forest, and that's the only loss of the season, when they went for 2 in the win, and they didn't get it. But you look at this Liberty resume. First off, shout out to them they've been on the road. They've been on the road 4 times already this season. Just to remind you folks, Florida and Ohio State have only played 1 fucking away game. And get this, Ohio State plays their second away game this week. Florida doesn't play their second away game until fucking November 5th. It's ridiculous. I mean, Liberty, though, has wins against I think. So do they still have a winning record? No, they have a losing record now, but it's still, I mean, look what they just did to BYU. They won 41-14 against BYU. So they have 3 wins over teams that are 500 or better. They've been on the road 4 times, and the way that they just whooped BYU's ass, scoring the final 38 points of the game. I think the Flames deserve to be ranked, and I think it's ridiculous that they're not even in the top 25. I think it's ridiculous. Anyway, at number 13, I got the Tulane Green Wave. They move up 1 spot from a week ago, and Tulane was whooping Memphis's ass. I know Memphis almost backdoored that thing, but it was like, I think 35-0 at one point, and final score was 38-28. Tulane continues to be super impressive. Super impressive. When you look at that schedule, too, their only loss was without Michael Pratt taking on their former assistant coach, Southern a 3-point loss to Southern Miss without your starting quarterback. I think that resume is pretty damn good, too. Another thing is you look at the wins. Kansas State winning record, Houston winning record, East Carolina winning record. It's an impressive resume. Even the Memphis is 500. So 4 wins against teams that are 500 or better. Pretty impressive what Willie Fritz is doing at Tulane. And I know I read an article, maybe Colorado or Arizona State should be looking at Willie Fritz. Certainly. I mean, I don't even know that he would take it with what he's building, but I think he's a damn good football coach, and I think he could have success wherever he ends up. If I was Nebraska, I'd be looking. So shout out to the chat moving along. Damn, I was hoping for Patty C to be on so I can say fuck you and your JMU Dukes. Well, you'll have that opportunity on Wednesday night when we record our preview and picks episode. Yes, week 10. Preview and picks will be this Wednesday at around 5:30 West Pacific time. Shout out to Kai. Shout out to Insano in the chat. But yes, so at number 13, I do have the Tulane Green Wave. At number 12, I have the Oregon Ducks. Yes, the Oregon Ducks. I mean, can we should do like 10 minutes on the Ducks right now because look, I get it. They've only been on the road two times this year, and we'll learn a lot more about them in the coming weeks, but it was an impressive win, the way they destroyed UCLA. And I think it's ridiculous that people are saying they should be out of the playoff race because of the loss to Georgia. Oh, why? Is that because they challenged themselves? And, Georgia wouldn't play I highly doubt Georgia would have played that game in Denver or Portland or Los Angeles. So wait, Oregon challenges themselves, gets their ass totally whooped. There's no denying that. But it was also their coach's first game, their quarterback's first game, the whole coaching staff's first game for the most part. Come on, it's fucking ridiculous. We're gonna reward Michigan and UCLA for their shitty out of conference schedule, and we're not gonna come at Oregon who also played BYU. So they play 11 Power Fives, and their FCS was Eastern Washington regional game against a team that's got a good football pedigree in the FCS. It's fucking ridiculous. If you're saying that, and look, I don't even think Oregon's going to end up there. I think they're going to lose in the next couple of weeks. I'm just saying though, to the fact that they are putting that shit out there, when I say they, people, ESPN, people on ESPN, people on CBS, people on whatever. That is ridiculous to me. It is absolutely fucking ridiculous. At number 11, we have the Illinois Fighting Illini. They're going to be tested. They head to Lincoln. They're going to be tested by a Nebraska team that obviously does not have a good record, but it's a live environment. So, I mean, when you look at Illinois' road schedules, at Indiana they lost by 3, and that's the only thing stopping them from being undefeated. Their other ones at Wisconsin, they won by 24, the game that got Paul Chryst fired. And that's their only road trip so far. So we are going to learn a little bit about Nebraska. About Illinois when they head to Nebraska. But I think the resume speaks for itself. The win against Wyoming continues to look better. The loss to Indiana continues to look worse. But the win over Virginia looked better after the last week. Virginia beat Georgia Tech. Also, Chattanooga took down Mercer in the FCS. Chattanooga looking really good. And Wisconsin continues to win as they put it on Purdue. Yes, the Iowa and Minnesota losses look a little worse, though. But I think that resume, if you compare it to Oregon's, the difference is Illinois has a 3-point loss at Indiana. Now, Indiana and Georgia should never be confused, but it's just the fact it was a 3-point loss, and Georgia won by 46. You look at the other ones. Okay, you won at Wisconsin. They're 4-4. Oregon won at Washington State. It's 4-4. But Washington State beat Wisconsin. I get that argument. At Wisconsin. So that second win does look a little bit better. Their second road game does look a little bit better than the Illini. But I would also argue the Illini at home, now that they don't. I mean, Chattanooga is better than Eastern Washington this year. So that's a better win. And then when you look at the other ones, it's tough. Like Virginia and Stanford, I kind of think Stanford's better right now. So maybe we value Oregon there. It's really close. Oregon and Illinois is a pretty similar resume. Wouldn't shock me, if you could argue the other team being better. You know what I mean? So anyway, next up at number 10. But before I get to the top 10, folks, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience Dantabase Top 25 show is brought to you by No House Advantage. Yes, No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250K in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for correct picks, and climb up that leaderboard for your shot to win big money every single day. You can also test your skills versus the house and win 20 times the amount of money you enter if you hit all your picks. You can bet on up to 5 player prop over and unders or individual player matchups across every major sports league: NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. Sign up now with the promo code SGPN at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app in the App Store or Google Play Store to get a first deposit match of $25. Make sure you check out No House Advantage today and also experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but it's where you play. And you don't want to miss out on this one. All right, we are back talking top 10, Dantabase top 25 style. Folks, also make sure you subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. And also, college basketball season is right around the corner. Check out the College Basketball Experience podcast. We're on the same YouTube channel, youtube.com/The College Experience. But if you're checking out podcasts, the College Basketball Experience, we're going to be here every single night breaking down. We pick every game ATS. We've been doing this shit for over 5 years. And every single night of the college basketball season, I will be live talking best bets, but also best matchups. It's not 100% all gambling, because you get the side of me that just loves college hoops, that wants to see Oral Roberts take on Colorado State or something like that. So we'll highlight the best matchups to watch, the best games you should be betting on, all that good stuff. So check out the College Basketball Experience, people. All right, at number 10 in all the land, I have the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Well, Clemson lost. Or I'm sorry. Well, they lost to Clemson, but Clemson continues to win. So they have their only loss is to an undefeated team. All right. Which they also have a win against a team that has only lost to them, and that is the Liberty Flames. Those two wins are pretty darn good. And then when you look elsewhere on the resume, yes, you have some shit with VMI. The Vandy win looks worse. The Florida State win, though, they still have a winning record, and that's in Tallahassee on the road. We value those things. The win against Army looks better as Army grabs a dub, and the BC win looks worse. So I got the Wake Forest Demon Deacons at number 10. At number 9, I got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Yes, what a win. I hope you listened to our show. We were all over that one. I think, what was that, plus 210 on the money line, I think, as they took down the Texas Longhorns. This is one where you look at the resume is not fantastic at a conference, that is, but you look at the win at Baylor, that looked better as Baylor takes down Kansas. The Texas Tech win looks better as they smoke West Virginia. The loss to TCU still doesn't look that bad because TCU is undefeated, and that was in overtime. And then you took care of Texas. Yes, you beat Arizona State out of conference, but Arizona State continues to drop games. So I got if you compare, and that's what's interesting. If you compare Oklahoma State, if you battle up Oklahoma State with Wake Forest, so you both those teams have overtime losses to undefeated teams. But Oklahoma State's second road win is Baylor. Or I'm sorry, second road game is at Baylor, and they won by double digits, I believe. Whereas Wake Forest won at Florida State. I think Baylor's better than Florida State. So that's the logic on the road trips. At home, yeah, you could argue VMI. VMI is better than Arkansas Pine Bluff. However, Arizona State is better than Vanderbilt, if you ask me. I think that'd be a game, but I think Arizona State wins. I think Arizona State wins that game. So you gotta. It's tough. It's tough. Now I know that's at Vanderbilt. It's a little bit different, but yeah. I mean that's another thing. At Vanderbilt and at Florida State are the road games for Wake, whereas as Oklahoma State's loss was on the road in overtime. So you got to give that more of a pass than losing at home to Clemson. At number 8, I got the USC Trojans. They didn't play this week, but the Oregon State win continues to look better and better for them. So there's that. And then, Rice, that win against Rice. How about that? Rice continues to look good. Now the Arizona State win looks worse, but the Stanford win in Palo Alto looks a little bit better. You figure it out, right? The Fresno State win looks a little bit better. The Washington State win stays the same because Wazoo didn't play, and there you have it. They kind of go up by default, but their resume did get a little bit better. That would be USC at number 8. At number 7, and the last one-loss team and the highest-ranked one-loss team out there, and that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yes, the win against Texas gets worse, but they still have a loss on the road. First off, they have 3 road games. Texas currently has a winning record. Arkansas currently has a winning record. Tennessee currently has a winning record. So you have to respect the 3 road games there. Now, they did lose one of those, but at least it was to the team that's undefeated, not Texas, because the Texas loss would have them. Had Alabama lost to Texas and beaten Tennessee, I would have Alabama back at like number 12 or 13 or 14, because that team's resume doesn't look that good besides that. But Tennessee being undefeated, I think it gives merit to the Crimson Tide. But yeah, if you look at Alabama's resume, I mean, the 3 road games, I think, are what's the biggest thing here is that, hey, they did go on the road to those places, and all those places are pretty damn good as far as fan turnout too. So you got to reward it. You got to reward it. And yes, the Utah State win still looks pretty shitty. The ULM win still looks really shitty. The Vanderbilt win continues to look shittier. The A&M win continues to look shittier. So they're hanging on to their road record right now. I got them, though, as the highest one-loss team in all the land. At number 6, and the worst resume for an undefeated team, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I mention this every week. You should not think I'm not going to mention it. They play their second road game, them and Florida, the only two teams in all of 131 that have only played one road game thus far. That's fucking ridiculous. And to me, anyone in the top 25 or any of these other shows, Joel Klatt, look, I'm a Colorado Buffalo fan. Love Joel Klatt when he played quarterback. But the fact that you don't mention this, come on, man. Come on. Who's not I don't understand how they don't hit them saying, hey, they've only won one road game, and that was against a team with a losing record, Michigan State. They got to mention this. Why don't they? Why don't they? And that's pathetic. I mean, no team, in my opinion, no team should get to week 9. No team should get to week 9 of the college football schedule with one road game. Shit, Florida only plays week 10. They get to week 10 on their second road game. I need a whiskey just for that. Both those teams, though. I mean, we should call it out. If you're going to, like, every person that has a ballot for the Associated Press needs to know those things. That's why I put it on the media. I put it on the media because I feel like most of the voters probably don't know that. They probably aren't digging into it like we do. And that's just uncalled for. It's just fucking uncalled for. You know nothing about that team. Anyway. Next up, we got at number 5, the Michigan Wolverines. How could I put Michigan ahead of Ohio State? Well, it's simply this for me. Yes, Ohio State's out-of-conference schedule is way better than Michigan's, even though their best out-of-conference, the best team they've played out-of-conference is probably Toledo still. I know Toledo lost to Buffalo and Notre Dame beat UNLV. I still think Toledo probably beats Notre Dame. We saw that Toledo play at Notre Dame last year, and they were winning with a minute left, ended up losing by 3, but that was a much better Notre Dame team. I think this is a better Toledo team than last year. But then you look at Michigan. Michigan's been on the road more. They went to Iowa. They went to Indiana. Now, granted, both those teams have a losing record, so their road wins aren't great. But it's still one more road win. That means something. And then also the Maryland win. So what does even Ohio State have? They have one, Toledo and Notre Dame are their two teams with winning records. Okay. Well, I still think is after this week, when Notre Dame plays at Syracuse is a favorite. So if it goes the way Vegas sees it, Syracuse will be back to being 500. Toledo plays at Eastern Michigan. Now, Toledo was a favorite, but that's a sneaky game. That resume is shit. The resume is shit for both these teams, really. I mean, Michigan has Penn State, the Penn State win, and the Maryland win, which I think is better than Notre Dame and Toledo. I don't think anyone would argue that. So I have Michigan at number 5. At number 4, nothing's changing, folks. Georgia didn't play. They're getting ready for the world's biggest cocktail party. Love that game. Been down there to that game. All right. Still would rather see it on campus, though. I'm like Kirby Smart. I do want that on campus. I know that it's been played in Jacksonville for like almost every fucking time they ever played, but I say you move it. Fuck history here. Yeah, I mean, Georgia's resume is good. It's better than Michigan's. The win at the win against Oregon, and that win at South Carolina continues to look better. The Missouri win got a little bit better because they beat Vanderbilt, but the Vanderbilt win got worse. Georgia's resume stays the same, or ranking stays the same. Really, the top 4 to me stayed the same because Clemson won. It was ugly, and this is strictly resume based. You know, if you listen to the recap show, I told you I think Clemson will be 500 in the Big 12. And Big 12 scheduled games. I really do. I don't think Clemson's a very good team. Like, I mean, I think they're good, but I don't think they're top 10 good. But the ACC is down. They don't play North Carolina. They don't even play Duke, which this year you'd be like, hey, I'd like to see the Duke matchup this year. No, they get Georgia Tech every year in that bullshit rivalry game. And then, which they didn't even play at Bobby Dodd. They actually had the more fans, and it was just ridiculous. But hey, Clemson, they did come from behind, got the win, got a win against an undefeated team. And they should not be penalized by that. Despite, because if you're strictly looking at the resume, they got 3 road wins, right? At Wake, at Boston College, at Florida State. And they have that half road game thing in Atlanta against Georgia Tech because they had played that at that filthy dome. I got Clemson at number 3. At number 2, I got the TCU Horned Frogs. Yeah, I mean, look, they continue to win. Yes, the Kansas win got worse. Kansas loses to Baylor. Yes, Colorado's win is looking worse. Yes, the SMU win is looking worse. But at the same time, the Oklahoma State win is looking a lot better. I mean, their resume is pretty good. They've been on the road a decent amount, and it's been pretty impressive. So at number 2, I got TCU. I think TCU and Clemson, you can actually somewhat argue the resumes. I guess, what is Clemson's best win? Wake. What is TCU's best win? Oklahoma State. What is TCU's second best win? I would probably say Kansas State. What is Clemson's second best win? Syracuse. I do think Kansas State probably beat Syracuse this year if they were to play. But it is close. It's arguable. So that's why I have at number 2. And at number 1, nothing's changed. And I got the Vols. They had UT Martin on the schedule. But hey, UT Martin's actually a better FCS than a lot of teams that play in the SEC. You know, what are some of the SEC? Let me load that up. So all the SEC teams play FCS teams, for the most part, at least that I know of. Take, for example, Florida's playing Eastern Washington. This year, UT Martin is better than Eastern Washington. I mean, that game makes no sense because Eastern Washington's got to go all the way across country. But still, Eastern Washington is somewhat of a respectable FCS program, so it's not terrible. But we mentioned Florida or LSU playing Southern. UT Martin's better than Southern. They're better than Eastern Washington. A&M played Sam Houston State, who's actually pretty good too. Now that's one that's probably on par with UT Martin. I might even lean Sam Houston State there, but A&M disguises it because they have UMass on the schedule too. So they basically get 2 FCS teams as that. But that UMass game, you better believe I'm excited for that. The JFK Bowl is coming back to Texas. But you get my point. Some of these other ones, Elon taking on Vanderbilt. That's what's hilarious. Vanderbilt probably played the fucking best FCS one there was. And is that just coincidence, or is that just the way it shakes out in college football? That's why we need a large playoff, folks. But Tennessee has the best resume. You look at it, the win against Alabama. Now I'll say this: the win against Pitt did get worse. The win against Pitt got worse. Obviously, Ball State lost, Akron lost. They did take a hit. They did take a little bit of a hit, but the LSU win looks a lot better. The Alabama win continues to look really good. That will buy them enough. Florida didn't play, but Florida still has a winning record. They still have 4 wins over teams with winning records. So got to have the Vols number 1. Let's go. Shout out to GBO Farms. They got a big one going on. Against Kentucky, the whiskey battle. Let's go. Folks, and that concludes the Dantabase Top 25. Subscribe, tell a friend, and also feel free to hit us up. Hit me up on Twitter at TheColbyD, or the College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN, and maybe debate why you think I'm wrong or right. Whatever. Just hit us up and talk college football with us. Best time of year. You get college football, college basketball going on. You mix that with all the other sports that are cranking. It's just a great time. But yeah, subscribe on YouTube and tell us if you like the Dantabase Top 25, or you maybe think that I'm a fucking idiot. And I'm okay with you telling me that. Check us out and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. as they continue to do great work. I know they had a great weekend in the NFL. All these, I feel like every week. So check out Sports Gambling Podcast. Check out the NFL Gambling Podcast, the College Basketball Experience, the CFL Gambling Podcast as the road to the Grey Cup heats up, and then MLB Gambling Podcast. World Series about to happen, folks. Then you got NBA Gambling Podcast, NHL Gambling Podcast. It doesn't stop, folks. Soccer, World Cup right around the corner. The MLS playoffs. Check out the MLS Gambling Podcast, the Soccer Gambling Podcast. Just get the SGPN app, and you'll get access to all of that. Come talk college football and college basketball with us, or whatever your sport is. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And cannot wait for this week. Anyone that's in College Station, hit us up. All right, come through. We'll have a booth, buy you a beer, get you a beer, something like that. We will be there. So come out to College Station if you're in the area. All right, folks, this is the College Football Experience, Dantabase Top 25 style. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.
Thank you. Well, it's a great way to get started, and I haven't even watched all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple. We didn't.
Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in the second half. It sucked.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off. Get my limousine. Ride on 85. Get my little jet. Woo! And take off. To New Orleans.